how did you get started with the making features?
Well, I got to a point where I decided I wanted to be a feature film director. So I moved to Los Angeles and went to the American Film Institute, which was God, that place was great. It was like boot camp for filmmakers. And I learned a lot there and ended up, writing scripts and things like that. And after a very long and torturous period, I finally got a shot to do Rubin and Ed. So that was the first feature film. It bombed at the box office horribly. The critics hated that movie, and I basically got kicked out of Hollywood after that. It was one of the luckiest things. Yeah, one of the luckiest things that ever happened to me, actually. I mean, I spent 13 years there and hardly got anything done other than Rubin and Ed. And I came back to Salt Lake and just started cranking out movies like that. I decided I'd never, ever ask anyone for permission to make a film again. I'd just go do it. If I had $500 or 5,000 or 50,000, whatever, just keep going.
Right. And then when you were in Salt Lake City, I remember I was driving around the country a few years ago, and I was stopping into like a bunch of used bookstores. And I noticed there's like a little Trent Harris section at Ken Sanders Books.
Isn't that a wonderful store?
That's got to be, I mean, so I have like my hometown store here, so I can't say it's the best one in the US, but that's got to be like number 2 that I saw.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary place. It really is. Ken's one of my best friends. I went to high school with Ken Sanders, actually. So I've known him forever.
Yeah, because I'm like a book dealer, and I would go to there's a big rare book show in Boston. I would go out.
Oh, yeah.
With John DeMarco from Lyrical Ballad over there. And there would be all these stories that like supposedly Ken Sanders, if it got reported to the ABAA that somebody stole like a really expensive book, Ken Sanders was going to track you down on a motorcycle and beat you up or something.
And he did. There's a book called The Man Who Loved Books Too Much, which is about Ken tracking. Well, part of it's about Ken.
Oh, somebody wrote a book about that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I gotta look that up.
Ken tracked down the son of a bitch and found him. So yeah, it's pretty good.
That was true. That really happened. Wow. Okay. The
enforcer.
And so it was Ken Sanders doing that back when you were in high school, or
no, it's been, I don't know, it's been 10 years ago or something like that. Now he was the enforcer for the ABA for a while. I mean, he was the guy people would go through to complain, I guess. But,
yeah. And so Rubin and Ed, how did Rubin and Ed get funded versus the I guess the later stuff, or funded, or like how did it all come together? I guess
Rubin and Ed's a studio movie. It's basically what happened is I'd been in Hollywood for a long time, and I was very frustrated with the place. The place it's very difficult to live there and actually try to do anything. So after many years, I decided, to hell with this place. I'm going to write a script that is so simple that I can go back to Salt Lake and shoot it with my friends. So I wrote that very simple, it's a simple script in the fact that it's basically 2 people wandering around in the desert. It's not expensive and it's doable. And for some reason, I gave it to my agent. My agent gave it to a producer. I had no hope that it would ever be made. The producer optioned it that morning. The very first meeting we went to at Columbia TriStar, they bought the film. So it was like, wow. So that's how that came about. After years and years and years, it actually really happened fast once I got the script there. But yeah, so that's how I got through that.
And when you wrote it, did you have a cat?
No, I didn't have a cat. I had a dog that I was just best dog ever, named Mr. Butts, but I didn't have a cat at the time. But what happened was my friend Merrill Melfith, he was a bricklayer, big guy, smoking Marlboro cigarettes. I'm drinking beer. We're over there on his porch one day having a beer. He's a weightlifter, all this stuff. Anyway, I go in to get a beer out of the refrigerator, and there's a cat in the freezer. And I said,
no kidding.
No, Merrill, there's a. He says, yeah, Simon died and I haven't had time to bury him yet. So I put him in the freezer until I can figure out. And that kind of stuff sticks in your brain, You can remember that when that happens. So that's kind of the genesis of that.
And did you help him bury it or no?
No, I never did.
It was a wish fulfillment in the script.
Oh, that would have been good.
That's like, now you would have shot it as a documentary or no?
A little late now, but.
So the Echo people weren't involved?
No, but I did just finish another movie called Echo People.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, after this, send me your email address. I'll send you DVD. It's pretty great. It's kind of it's not really a sequel to Rubin and Ed, but it's a spin-off.
Okay.
So
Okay.
almost exactly the same locations, very much of the same themes, different characters. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, maybe we should have reached out because we were looking around for like Rubin and Ed's not too hard to find. It's actually how recently did the Blu-ray come out? Because it looks a lot better. Because I saw it 10 years ago on like a VHS, and I didn't like watching it this time. I was like, you could actually tell there were like compositions. It's like a very visually beautiful movie.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that the studio never released the movie on DVD, so the only thing you could see were pirated things. Basically, I pirated my own movie sometimes just to get it out. But the the Blu-ray looks nice, and it came out not that long ago. I'm going to say 6 months ago. So it'd been, what's it been? 30 years since that movie. I finished that film, and finally they put out a Blu-ray. I think it was because of COVID, quite frankly, and their revenues were cut down, and so they started looking in the closet to see how they could generate a little money, and pulled out Rubin and Ed.
I mean, it makes sense. I feel like I've never shown that movie to people who didn't really like it by the end of it. Like it's a hard sell at first, but if you can get people in the room, they really like it.
Yeah, it's one of those things you either like or hate.
It took me 10 minutes. I didn't need the whole thing to start to like it. So, yeah.
I mean, I think the first time I ever heard about it was like I was looking up the worst late night talk show appearances, or not, those like listicles of just sort of, and then I was like, why is Crispin Glover acting like that? And then that led me to the film. And did he tell you he was going to do that before he went on Letterman, or I imagine he didn't tell anybody?
I knew he was going on dressed up like Rubin, I think, but the rest of it was what it was.
How close is Crispin Glover in real life to Rubin?
Well, I'm probably closer to Rubin than he is.
Oh, okay. Do you have?
So did he like model it method style after you? Was he like following you around for a while?
What's that?
Did he like model it after you method style? Was he like following you around for a while?
No, he came up with that. I came up with the shoes, and he came up with the costume, and I wrote the script, and away we went. It was a lot of fun.
And so shooting that in the desert, were there a lot of technical complications? Because it doesn't look like you're that close to civilization at most points.
No, we're way out in the middle of the boonies, but it's actually it can be easier to shoot outside than inside, depending on the weather. If the weather cooperates, shooting outside is actually a lot easier. You can move faster. You're not dealing with lights, but you are to a certain degree. But
mostly
originally Peter Boyle was cast in the role of Ed, not Howard Hessman.
Oh.
And after about 10 days of shooting, Peter had a stroke, and I had to recast quickly. So
like stroke or heat stroke?
Like a stroke.
Oh, yikes.
He recovered, but he couldn't get through the film. So I'd planned this film. That desert is really, really unbearably hot in the summer, and it's freezing in the winter. So there's a window of opportunity, which is usually late October is the first perfect time to be out there. But Peter had the stroke, and that pushed us way late into October and even into November. And so it started to get really cold. And there are actually shots where you can see snow on the ground. And they're supposed to be dying of heat in the desert. So that kind of got tricky. But, I've probably shot, I bet I've shot 8 or 9 films in that exact location, or in that little area there, because it's so, I call it Mystery Mountain. It's Factory Butte area in central southern Utah, and it's just the most mysterious, surreal, magnificent place I've ever been, quite frankly. It's just amazing out there.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me a bit, like this time watching it, kind of like the shifting backgrounds in the Crazy Cat comic strips. Like there's this sense of disorientation because every part of the desert, it looks the same, but it looks different.
Yeah.
Did you ever get stuck out there with your car or anything? Or
No, I've been out there enough. I know better. I know how
Okay,
that,
that's good.
you know, you get stuck out there, you're stuck. So you don't want to do that.
So you did like the hard work of making most of it up. There's not a lot of, there's not too much autobiography after the cat in there.
No, there's, you know, when you're writing a film, you're taking random bits of information and constructing a reality out of it. So I'd pull a little bit from here, a little bit from here. The, you know, the success seminars were tapes I was listening to, and because I was so, there was a television show. I had terrible insomnia, so I'd be up all night, and I'd watch this kind of infomercial on this guy named Tom Vu, who was a real estate salesman, you know, and he was starts out with him as a boat person coming over from Vietnam, and then it cuts to him on a yacht with all of these, you know, bikini bearing babes, and it was real estate that had made him that rich. And so I started gathering the real estate tapes and stuff that they were listening to, because I was fascinated by that stuff. So that wormed its way in. So it's a lot of little different things that go on in my life at the same time, and I kind of, or in the past, and I'll take them and rearrange them and construct a new reality out of it. It's a wonderfully fun thing to do when it works. When, you know, there are times when you're sitting around going, oh God, but it's just a great experience.
And so, like, how much time would you say you spend writing versus filmmaking? And has that changed over time?
It's a lot easier for me to write now than it was then. That script took me over a year to write, and I worked on it hard. But now, I mean, Echo People I've cranked out pretty quickly. So it's gotten easier. I don't make the same mistakes every time. I make new ones, but I sort of understand the structure now, and I understand it enough that I can play with it and goof around with it a little bit. Plus this notion of making I found that I can make the new films I've been making, like Echo People and Rubber Room and a couple of these other films that are feature films. What I do is I break them into thirds. It makes it a lot easier to shoot and a lot cheaper to shoot. So, you know, I can go out and shoot a third of it. And when you don't have any money, it's not like I can say, well, will you work on my film for the next, 60 days? And they go, no, I can't do that, but they can work on it for 10 days. So you break it up like that. So I make them in kind of, what would you call them? Episodes, I guess, episodic. 1, 2, 3, but the 3 episodes add up to be one film when you at the end. It's a different way of approaching writing, but it's quite fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I didn't even think about because it's a lot easier to get people together for 10 days because you're kind of herding cats no matter what, right?
Well, when you don't have a budget, I mean, you can't tell people, you can't get that kind of commitment, even if they're your best friends and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you left Los Angeles and you went to Salt Lake City, and then was that when you started working on Plan 10 from Outer Space, or was there stuff in the middle?